Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam. Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Monday, October 2nd, 2023, and we are here in the Java Cafe. Let me just name that of all days, the day after the rebrand. We had a couple of tech issues, not a big thing, but you will notice a couple of changes. Thank all of you that went and signed up for the website over the past couple of days. Thank all of you that have purchased hoodies. I would like to acknowledge, I got a text from the team this morning. Dina Tarver for being the first person to purchase the hoodie. Please go ahead and purchase the hoodies. You can do that at www.javawithjimmy.com. And the winner of the giveaway is Damaris Taylor. And we will let you know about how we will get you your $50 cash prize. We're going to announce that at the end as well. And next month, we're going to continue. So thank you for everybody that followed the instructions on Instagram to tag someone and to share. Got quite a few followers, new people from like across the world. And so we're honored to have them as part of the Java family. Listen, on Friday, we did a special edition of the Java Cafe with Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, and we were chatting with her about the possibility of a government shutdown. We are glad to say that that did not happen. And so, and I'm messing with some things here, so y'all just bear with me. That did not happen. And so we are glad that that did not happen. And all right, there we go. I'm going to leave it alone. And I'm so glad that Catherine, my guest this morning, understands tech and is bearing with me as I try to get this thing to work. So we'll figure it out. But with Congresswoman, we talked about the impact of a shutdown, what it would do for families, those low income, and deal with food insecurities. And so we're going to continue that conversation. Though the shutdown did not happen, there are still issues and food security issues here. And so this agency has benefited many of us throughout the years. And so I am honored to have its CEO with us today, and that is Catherine D'Amato. First of all, thank you so much for being my first guest trying to get this stuff together.
You're welcome.
But I also learned that you are artists, and so thank you for just being so flexible. But first, Catherine, welcome.
Yeah.
Say good morning to everyone.
Hey, good morning. I mean, I had my coffee really early, so you're not up that early, I don't think, Jimmy. But listen,
I probably was. I should have got up that early and maybe did a test run.
That's okay. No. It's it. You have a new logo, new thing going. That's great on the hoodies, and I just think congratulations on getting this far. But I'm happy to chat with you about what food insecurity looks like here in Boston, and the Congresswoman is quite knowledgeable of all of this. She's a huge advocate for our people here.
Absolutely. And so let's learn a bit about you, Catherine. Why is this area, the helping field? I always want to learn from folks why they go in this space. Did you land here through osmosis or something, or was it intentionality to be someone that is overseeing such a great service, not only to Boston, it's the Greater Boston Food Bank, but regionally? We had someone on a few weeks ago, I believe from out in Western Mass, that was talking about the partnership with you all and how it supports what they're doing in their area. So how did you get here to be the CEO of the Greater Boston Food Bank?
Yeah, look, nobody grows up to be a food banker. There's no degree in it. You kind of fall into it. I was fortunate. Look, my grandparents were farmers. My parents opened a restaurant when I was 8, which moved us from working class and out of my father was a teamster, a truck driver, and then became a restaurant owner. And my undergraduate degree is in theology, so I was always kind of grown up in the social justice and
In
right.
theology?
Yeah, there you go, right?
Deviate there toward the end.
Another thing, another conversation, highly marketable, right? And so I had the good fortune of in San Francisco when I was going to college to be able to start the San Francisco Food Bank. And that was a real remarkable experience and learn. So I started and worked there. And then I went to Western Massachusetts and ran that food bank for a while. These are all food banks in the Feeding America system, national system that has over 200. Now, and then I came to Boston in 95 when it was much, much smaller. And now it's a significant regional hub. We serve 190 cities and towns. So the name is confusing. We're not a pantry. We supply pantries. So we're serving over 600 organizations in that 190 cities and towns with food.
Wow. And it's interesting because you went right back to the work, and we learned a little bit about you being in school in San Francisco. So you started the San Francisco Food Bank.
Yeah. In 1979, I was, look, you're not old enough to know what was going on in San Francisco in the 70s, but it was a very turbulent, exciting time. We had a Vietnam War ending in the early part of the 70s. Then, you had the Black Panther Party feeding like 35,000 kids in Oakland, which is really the beginning of the school breakfast program, which was amazing, that's the model. And then you had, all kinds of challenges. Harvey Milk and George Moscone were assassinated. You had, Patty Hearst abducted, which they asked for food to come to the mission as part of the resolve. It just was a very turbulent time, including, Jim Jones and the loss of 1,000 lives that just were taken from us, mostly out of San Francisco. So food, housing, many of the issues that are right with us today. I often tell my team, we have 150 team members that work at the food bank, is, gosh, I feel like I'm right back in the 70s, right? We're kind of fighting the same fight, having to deal with the same issues and make sure people are fed, housed, and educated and have health care. It's not rocket science, Jimmy, how to do this and what is needed. It's just a political mess.
And that is so interesting because some of the issues that are underlined back in the 70s, the underlining issues and root causes are still the same.
Absolutely.
And it's just how they demonstrate themselves now. Even also, I think when you mentioned that it's very political, the political climate is very hot. And so it's so interesting. One of the things that we talked about with Congresswoman Presley on Friday was that where is the humanity away from politics when you're risking the fact that people aren't going to be able to eat? And that just is so interesting. Let me ask you a little philosophical question, maybe tap into the theology or a little bit, but food, Catherine, it is essential to our well-being.
It is.
But it also is something that throughout history has solved and brought peace from wars, has brought families together. So talk to us about why food is so important, not just the individual and our health, but it could be very helpful in some other things that you were naming and which we were talking about. I want to hear a little bit of that from you as well.
Sure. It's foundational. You use the word essential, foundational. It's a means by which that brings people together. We often think about the other parts, but not necessarily the food. We might think about making sure people have housing. Okay, who's feeding them? Making sure people gather for an event or a demonstration, or even, being able to exercise your rights. There's always sort of food around there.
Voting.
But yes, voting, right? So food to me is part of organizing. So if you can use, the food to gather and to take food literally, put food on the table, but to be able to help people, then it takes a major issue in terms of sustainability, essential, foundational for families. You have to have food, you have to have housing. There's some very basic needs that contribute to that individual or family being able to move, take care of themselves, be contributing citizens. So it is basic. It is a value in many religions globally. It philosophically, do the right thing. There's so many ways that you can come at why food is essential and foundational. And that's where, in my growing up in the 70s, where I really saw food as being an organizational means, a means by which to bring people together. But we can often come to disagreements can often be woven to agreements. It's
Mhm.
also a way that we can understand this intersectionality, the relevancy, cultural differences. It's a profound tool in terms of teaching people. And I've had the honor to be able to work in it. When I was 8 years old, my dad opened this restaurant, and he's like, nobody should ever come to the back door to beg to work in order to eat. And they were always brought in and sat down and fed. Okay, that's profound, in terms of like, I don't quite get that, but it has meaning. And therefore, later in life, it clearly had meaning for
Mhm.
me. And, they were those businesses were like the soup kitchens and the meal programs in communities. Communities took care of the families and the people that needed help. Churches do that, mosques do that, temples do that. Religion does that in a lot of ways. So here we are in this, I know what I would call a barbell economy, where there's a lot of people on one side are doing fine. And then there are a lot of people on the other side not doing so fine. And it's so divisional. And I'm sure Congresswoman Presley talks about this in terms of the fight that she and others that represent Massachusetts have to bring each and every day into Congress. I mean, this impact of a shutdown. We have 28,000 federal workers in Massachusetts, and they didn't know what was going to happen. It's just stupid. It's like, do your job. I do believe that part of Congress,
Yes.
like, do your job, right? So it shouldn't impact WIC. It shouldn't impact SNAP. It shouldn't impact TSA workers. They're doing their job. We got to be there for them.
It's so interesting, Catherine. I want to build off, unpack a couple of things there with the great foundation that you laid. That why food should be automatic. Health
Mhm.
reasons why Teresa from Worcester is not only saying for your sustenance, but if you take medication,
Yeah. Yeah,
some
absolutely.
medications need to be taken with food. So it's
Oh,
also
many,
a
many.
healthcare issue for multiple reasons. With all of that being said, and you had started this, Catherine, why? What is it that my grandmother used to say? What ails
Right.
the politicians to
Right.
where they, where I believe in past administrations,
Yeah.
Greater Boston Food Bank has been supported.
Yep.
But right now it may be at level funding and no cuts, but the need is increasing. You talked about families on one side of the coin.
Yeah.
Some of these
Yeah.
families are a paycheck
Yep.
bill away of almost, for example, knocking at the back door, to which you were
Absolutely.
of your
Absolutely.
dad. And so what, from your observation and years in being in food service and having to some extent be political to advocate, push
Mhm.
legislation, why?
Mhm.
Why is
Why?
it such a
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, that it's an irrational conclusion, right? That why wouldn't we in the richest country, in the most resourced country, we wouldn't help our people? And so, look, I've been in this work for a long time, as I said, since 1979, and I can tell you there's three things that I know about hunger, and they always are true. It is always economical. I don't have enough money. I can't feed, what, there's some reason, not enough money. I tell you, it's always political, and it is always personal of why somebody, so that economic, political, and then personal, all three exist. It is an absolutely solvable problem. The solution is food, and the better food, right? As your commenter came forward, hunger. You want to move people from hunger to health. You want to be able to make sure that they have adequate intake so that they can heal and also address what is likely, a chronic illness.
Yep.
They need help. And it's proven over and over again in studies. And we're kind of just waking up to grandma. We're waking up, 100 years later to what our grandmothers or our ancestors or, our great grandma, whatever they were that said it, it is true. And we have huge challenges in front of us in terms of ensuring that people have either federal resources or state resources or private resources. The Greater Boston Food Bank has to raise $100 million a year to do this work. All the food that we provide is free to these agencies, and it is healthy. It is full of, there's protein and produce and dairy. And one of the things we've been learning a lot about, Jimmy, is the cultural relevancy, right? Is to understand not just what we're putting into communities, but did the foods that are appropriate to specific cultures actually get to those individuals.
So you're looking to do equity in
Whoa. Can you? Yes, we are because it matters, right? I mean, there are some foods, a lot of produce as an example is fairly universal.
Yep.
Right? Potatoes, carrots, onions,
Yep.
tomatoes, they might be cooked differently in your culture than mine or others. But when you're starting to get into very specific foods, like maybe a masa, you're looking maybe at a bok choy, or you're looking at the greens, or you're looking at okra. There are foods that just then again that are much more stapled in cultures. And so the awareness, and we've been working with communities to understand this better and to really measure impact. Because I can buy a lot of things. I buy over $50 million worth of food a year. So I can buy this versus that. And so that means if I understand more and I'm able to listen and learn, then my team can purchase things that are appropriate and actually what, communities want. I mean, sure. I mean, it doesn't work if you put the product in the bag and say, here, if the person doesn't have some involvement in what goes in that
but there's
product
also
going to home.
There's a sense of, let's just go here for a second. There's a sense of returning pride that may come back when they at least feel that they can pick from what's available. Let's name this. That there are people, and I'm so glad, and I can't remember the young woman's name in the agency that and we talked about Greater Boston Food Bank and the partnership, that, some people deal with issues of food across the spectrum, even the 1% and whatnot, and again, they're a check away. And so hearing the intentionality about the intentional equity and diversity of the type of foods, and then also hearing that you are allowing people that rightfully so as human beings, we don't maybe always do well when we're in a position where we need to ask for help. And so those two things alone, I'm great that I'm able to learn from you today.
Sure.
That, and again, you're not a pantry, but to understand that the distribution to the pantries has this philosophy.
Yes.
I hope it translates to the other.
Correct. So we call them choice pantries, right? It's an important thing. So we require that if you use the Greater Boston Food Bank, your model has to be one of choice, right? You have to be able to say to the person when they come in, or you're talking to them on the phone, or you're bringing something to their home, is it peas or carrots, right? Is it greens or bok choy? Is it tomatoes or potatoes? So you can decide, and that means we're getting closer to what you and your family eat.
And it's going to consume, actually.
Correct. Versus throw it away, So, I mean, I remember when, you might have remembered when USDA products, they don't come this way anymore. They're incredibly healthy, but they used to be like, used to get canned food, right? A lot.
Canned food and the big block of cheese. Now, listen.
Yeah, that's all gone. That's history. It's all much healthier. It's all a lot of fresh meats and proteins.
That cheesecake, good grilled cheese.
There you go. But it would end up being tossed, right? It's like, what is this? I mean, we run into this culturally, like at Thanksgiving. Their families like, what's a turkey? What is a turkey? So we don't give everybody turkeys. We give people chickens, chicken parts, things that they can use in other ways, as opposed to here's the traditional, meal. And we've learned a lot, because we can push protein in a variety of ways. Fish, as an example, we have a great partnership with the Chatham. It's down in Chatham, where we're able to buy from fish mongers and vendors and promote their products and move them forward. So lots of ways in which you can benefit Massachusetts economically, and then purchase those products. We buy from nearly 40 farmers in Massachusetts alone. Or we'll say to them, will you grow this product for us? Because it is a desirable product. The challenge is getting further and further down into the smaller farms. And especially, farmers of color are much more limited in that access to resources and like USDA loans or to be able to start their programs. So there's a lot to still move forward in this equity around access to food, the kind of food, the health of the food, and then the engagement around economic development, because there's the food being grown and manufactured, and then the food purchased, and then the food distributed. Now, it will not surprise you, but maybe that Massachusetts imports 87% of its food. We're not an agricultural state. So it makes that's partly why the food is very expensive. It has to come from someplace else into our state. So you're paying for transportation, fuel, storage to get that product here. We used to be an ag state. We have very few dairy farmers anymore. We have very few farms anymore. And they're small. We have a lot of little farms. And our growing season is very, very short. It's only 10 to 12 weeks. So we have to bring food in from elsewhere.
That's interesting. And just, I was surprised to hear that. And maybe because I'm thinking more produce than anything else. You mentioned dairy and meats, but I just would think that on the produce end that we could, do better. And maybe this is where legislation and policy comes in of supporting those smaller and of color, woman owned farmers, because there is, you named it, but let's just call out and articulate the economic impact, your intentionality around local farmers, your intentionality. So it's so interesting.
Well, it's we don't think about the food system a lot, about where does our food come from.
Yeah.
And that's another important part about, if your farmer, or your grocery store, or your fishmonger. I mean, if you have the challenge is we have to make this opportunity available to everyone.
Yep.
Right? Not just, go to a very high-end grocery store because we can afford it. Again, if we're on that side of the barbell, we can shop anywhere. But if we're on this side of the barbell, we may not have transportation to a grocery store. We may live in a food desert. We may, be fully dependent on a food pantry. We may be feeding multiple generations in our family because we have the responsibility to do that. So these are the pieces where, it is why policy can address much of this.
Yes.
And that's where we need to be more intentional to be able to pull those policies together, and why it's important we have the delegation we have in Massachusetts. That they fight and that they stay present. And we need to fight for families and to make sure there's WIC and SNAP. And one of the things your listeners may or may not know is that Massachusetts just became the 8th state to make school meals universal.
Okay.
So awesome, right? It means no more stigma, no more you get it, you don't, no more difference between you and you. All kids eat, all kids get access to food. That is awesome. That means the water table raises up for everybody across this state, every kid. And believe me, we have hundreds of thousands of children in our public school systems.
That is there's points even with our children that if the parents are dealing with issues of coming to the food bank, that may impact what they're taking to school. And so that safety net there for 8 states, I thought you were going to say, and the thought that's in my mind is, what's up with the other 42 states?
Well, I agree with you there.
You know what I mean?
I agree with you there. But look, it was $150 million in the budget this year, and it'll be there always. So we don't have to go fight for it again next year and the year after. Now that's what makes it really good. But so you had to carve out $150 million. So it's financial, Jimmy. What happens is the state has to make trades, right?
Yeah.
For this, for that.
There's no new money. There's no new money. So
yeah. But that's where you'll see that kind of a trade-off. But that is a huge benefit and a huge plus regarding Massachusetts making that decision for our children across our state. So there's equity, right? Kids in public schools, and that's kids all the way through public schools. That becomes available to them.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, because when I have guests on like yourself, I want to be able to either point the fans to one or two things, or the Java fan, I said fans, to one or two things, is either resources and or action. Is there anything? We have a good delegation, we have an
Yep.
administration in past that have been supportive. Is there anything that people can do? Is it
Sure.
finding a legislator?
Yes.
Is it okay? So let's go.
So
What
it's a couple of things, right? You don't want to be indifferent. You want to do something in your community. So you can volunteer. You can be visible. If you don't have any financial resources, which may be understandable, or you have limited, you can volunteer in a lot of ways, and we can help you if you want to give a call to GBFB. We can help you. You can give a financial contribution. That's another thing that you can do, small, medium, or large. So every dollar donated, as an example, to Greater Boston Food Bank is $2, is 2 meals. So $1 equals 2 meals, and that's amazing, right? And then in the local community, that could be even more significant of what happens. The third is that, remember, go back to that economical, political, and personal. That political is real. If city, I mean, take it out. It's your town, your city, and then your state, and then your federal government. They have to hear from you. If you're silent, then it's not an issue.
Mhm.
Clearly, I mean, legislators go, they go like, "Hey, Catherine, I didn't get any phone calls about this." But I say, "Okay, I'll get busy." Okay, we got 100 phone calls about this. 100 constituents called us and said, this is an issue.
That
And you don't even have to talk to anybody anymore, Jimmy. Just call and leave a message. They count it.
They do. Sonia Chang Diaz some years ago said
Yeah.
in a community meeting, upon the 10th call, it's empty for her office. And
Okay.
so imagine if you're getting 100. And so
Exactly.
there's the piece of not being silent to ensure that. And again, we're advantaged because our delegation
Terrific.
is in
It's
favor,
terrific.
is terrific,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we still want to make sure that you have the support in which you need to keep that going. And so
Mm.
there's also the Greater Boston Food Bank general website that you can go to not only find up, and I'm sure you can figure out how to volunteer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
We can help you. We can help you in your community too.
okay. The
Yeah.
other,
But
and as far as if mom and pop shops are looking to do something or help as far as getting them into volunteer groups of folks that may want to volunteer.
both.
Okay.
Both. I mean, we can, at the Greater Boston Food Bank, we have volunteers 6 days a week, but we can also get you connected into your community. So
Oh, I got
let's say you live in Framingham,
you. Yep.
and because we again have 190 cities and towns, that you can't, get to Boston, right, to volunteer at the large warehouse, but you can get to something in your town. We can connect you. If the listeners go to gbfb.org, there's a couple of things that would be important. One is you'll see an entire map of all the cities. And if you put your zip code in, because you can do this too, the zip code will drive you to where you can go to get food, but the same places need volunteers. So if you put your zip code in, it's going to show you all the organizations in your town that are served by the Greater Boston Food Bank. I mean, we're bringing food into 190 cities and towns. All that food is free. And every one of those programs is getting at least 80% of their food from us. So that's where we want to make sure people know where to go if they need food, as well as if they want to volunteer.
It's just amazing because I just, you're a conduit.
Yeah, we're like a hub. Think of us
A
as
hub
this
and a
a hub.
conduit.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be some entities, you've been around nonprofits for a while. Sometimes we tend to hoard, our resources. And what I hear from you is one, as far as the food, distributing it, but also not hoarding all the volunteers just
Yes.
for the Greater Boston Food Bank. And
No,
having
no,
a
no, no, no.
system to where you
No.
can, parse out, if you live in Framingham, it makes sense to go to your local
Absolutely.
associated or affiliated food pantry. And so, Catherine, it's so interesting when I get to talk to people like you, because we drive past there on the highway. I
Mhm.
remember hearing about the food bank growing up. I've been a
Right.
beneficiary at one way or
Oh,
another at times in my life of the food bank, and then knowing of others as well that have been pointed to different pantries. And so
yeah.
just to hear the philosophy behind as far as the diversity, as far as the intentionality
Mhm.
around being, culturally competent has become kind of like this sexy word.
Yeah, yeah,
No, there's some intentionality versus
yeah.
callaloo versus collard greens. And
Yes, yeah, they are
it's
quite different. And
different.
one of the things I want to make sure your listeners know
Yes.
too is we have a site called Click and Cook. So it's Click N with an N Cook. And it's a site where you can put in, it's a push site, Jimmy. So you put in, I have chicken, peas, carrots. I have chicken, collard greens, and onions. And it'll give you recipes for that. But it will also, you can identify some screens like cultural prevalence. Maybe you only have a hot plate. Maybe you only have a microwave. Maybe you're doing cold cooking, and then you can also give your preference on language. So it's a to help folks based on what they have. If I want to make a cake, I'm probably going to go to some other site and learn how to bake the cake. This isn't that's not this site. This site is tell me what you have, and it's just another way. But I would love to have, if your listeners have recipes, if there are ways in which we can just keep, populating that site with more opportunities. But you can put low, if you have some health restrictions, language,
So it's
and then
customizable.
cooking. Yeah, it's just, well, so you could say I'm a 40-year-old. I'm not 40. I have diabetes, a heart condition, and I'm gluten free, and I've got these three products, and I speak Portuguese. Okay, and I only have a microwave. It's going to give you those recipes that fit that. So
This is amazing.
there you go. Click and Cook. You got it now. It's a good site.
It is a good site because and I can probably go on here
You could use it.
and make
I
no, not
use it.
use it.
We can
Listen,
all use it.
make it now you sound like Oprah. Make a couple of contributions to it because listen, I know how to take a couple of packs of meat, a couple of veggies, and some
Yeah.
rice and the starch, and we'll be good for 5 to listen.
Yeah.
Being
Yeah.
being a bachelor, not wanting to cook, or let's be honest, not having the money to afford,
Yeah.
I've learned how to stretch meals. And so this is also a site where folks can go to and contribute how they've
Yeah.
been able to stretch their dollars as far as
Yeah.
food.
There's a lot of greatness there. And and then be sure to go to gbfb.org because that's where we can help you. If you need food, then put in your zip code and you'll see all the programs in your community and be able to utilize them. And as you said before, I mean, one of the things I care about deeply is let us do our job, right? So that you can do your job. And I want to make sure that as people come to sites across Eastern Massachusetts, that there's healthy and good food options for them there. And it's been extremely challenging. Not surprising, we're at the highest and most historic need in our state of 1 in 3.
Yeah,
Pre Pre-pandemic, we were 1 in 8, 1 in 9. Now we're 1 in 3, and 50% of those folks, that we know through surveying, are saying it's affordability and equity. Right? Those are the two major issues that are pushing people further into being food insecure and needing to rely on their local food organization for help. So we have a big problem here in Massachusetts. And that's where we need to stay vigilant on the policies, stay vigilant on donations, and stay vigilant on volunteering because this thing is going to get a little bit worse before
yeah.
it gets better.
That's the part I keep saying on a health wise with our young people, and even in this case, we have not. Well, everybody's talking endemic. We
Yeah.
haven't seen the full impact yet
No, no, no.
of
We
the pandemic.
no, people are hurting. People, they that was back to our original sort of conversation about food as a comfort, right? It's a relief, it's a foundation, it's a way to just, you know, um, be with people and to see them and to hear them and to hear their stories, which are profound, in terms of their limitations or the limited resources that they have. And they're just trying to do like everybody else, get up every day and try to be as productive as possible. But when you have to go searching for your food every day,
It's
this is not a good situation.
yes,
No, not at all.
yes. Let me ask you something kind of related, but not. And please forgive me if it takes you by surprise. But
Oh,
your geographical location is in a very interesting area when it comes to humanity.
Yeah.
And I just where you're comfortable or want to give, commentary on or either impact what you're observing there. I'll be transparent. We're talking about the impact of issues going on in the mass and
Oh,
capital
sure.
area.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah. It's a human tragedy.
yeah.
I mean, the lives of people there that need assistance. It's a public health challenge and addiction. We all have somebody in our
Yes.
lives
Yep.
that has some addiction,
Yep.
right? A loss, a death, a family member. We've seen it, but to live on the street and not be able to, um, you know, m- move from that, and that is your home, is a tent. It's an inhumane place to live,
Yep.
let alone the services. Like, I know everybody's doing the best they can,
Mhm.
and it's been challenging from a business standpoint. I won't hold back on that. It's been extremely challenging to keep public health, and there are major sanitation issues, and that attracts a lot of other little critters that become very challenging.
Around food.
Yeah,
Around
around
food.
food, but it's also, when you have the ODs, the overdoses that occur, and you're seeing people shoot up, and you're seeing, the sexual traffic, you're seeing an open air drug market, you're seeing people who need help, and the solution isn't that. And I know that the city and I know the state are deeply committed to try to figure this out, but that's the problem. The figuring it out seems to be too far away.
Catherine. Sorry, because we've been you. How I was going to get in trouble.
Yeah, yeah,
You have expertise and experience in this play in this
yeah.
space about getting things done, and that is the thing. I had asked the mayor a couple of months ago that a lot of
Mhm.
this is cyclical. We talked
Yeah,
about when
yeah.
you first started versus what the issues, how they demonstrate themselves now.
Mhm.
It's cyclical, and so I asked her, "Where is the
Yeah,
off ramp?
yeah,
Where is
yeah.
the off ramp
That's a good question.
to the figuring it out?" And that's the thing that just baffles me, Kat,
Yeah.
because
It's a
us, it seems we don't know all the details. We're not in either one of those positions. It isn't
Yeah,
just the current administrations,
yeah,
but it just I had to ask you about that, knowing
yeah.
that you're in that area.
Look, I mean, I've from Mayor, Walsh to Mayor Janey to now Mayor Wu. I mean, this isn't a new problem.
Yep.
This has been in this situation for years. And I mean, you can't make somebody want to um, address their drug addiction. You can't say, okay, you have to go over here. You don't want to jail people for a public health problem, but you
Yes.
want to help people, and it's dangerous. Look, I've had, we try to keep our staff as safe as possible. We now have 24/7 security. We never had that before. We have, increased pest control, all kinds of monies being spent to help mitigate, as it comes. And I feel it's just so sad. It's a human tragedy. And I wish there was a solution, Jimmy. I wish it was very easy. And it's an incredibly complex
Very.
situation, and trying to keep people safe and trying to keep people, those that want it. I know that they've been able to help a substantial number of folks that do want to go into some kind of program or some kind of housing. But for the human trafficking and the open air drug market, you know,
It
is terrible. And then the overdosing. I've said that each mayor, I don't want to kill somebody with a tractor trailer coming down the street,
oh,
because
Catherine.
they'll fall over, or you don't know where they're coming out of from, or we've all been that. So the safety of those individuals is paramount, as well as the businesses being able to function and run their businesses without the concern. So it's I wish I had a solution.
Yep.
I don't, but I think the long-term solution is there. But the question is the short term. The business improvement district did come out with a
Yeah.
short-term solution,
Yep.
and that necessarily hasn't been embraced, I understand, by the Wu administration yet. And so we're going to have to spend a lot of money, even in the interim, to keep folks safe.
It's interesting. I'm a board member of one of the and it's so ironic because I'm aware of your agency and one of the other helping agencies in that area,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been made privy to security. I've been
Yeah.
made privy to safety issues and the economic issues for your business to combat
Yeah.
the other things. And so this is I mentioned to someone in administration early on South Bay, and yes, we had
Yeah.
Macy's just open down there and whatnot, but this yeah, I didn't mean to go too deep
No,
into.
that's okay. But let me just be clear. It's not just a Boston issue.
Absolutely, it's national.
You and I can go to any city, Los
Yep.
Angeles, Eugene, Portland, San
Tenderloin.
Francisco, New York.
Tenderloin
Yes.
in San Francisco. I've been there and see.
Yeah, that's old haunt there. I used to
Yep.
hang out there, but there's just it's everywhere. And so it's a national tragedy,
It
right?
is.
In terms of addiction, housing, emergency housing, food, then we pile on in terms of affordability for this housing or wages. I mean, you and I could have like a
Oh,
1,000
we'll have to talk.
conversations.
Yes,
We'll
yes.
talk again, right? But I I appreciate that you're willing to ensure that your listeners aren't um they know
Mhm.
because they have listeners. We all have lived in certain compromises and challenges that we have in our families, whether it be addiction or housing or job or employment. I do want to make a plug that we are hiring people, and that so if you have some folks out there that are warehouse workers and have great experience and would like to come to the Greater Boston Food Bank, go to that same website and look up our on our human resources button and look at the job openings, because we have openings for warehouse associates and for CDL drivers and for some other positions. So we'd love to be able to hire folks from the community and love to be able to have them be a part of what the Greater Boston Food Bank is doing.
All right, I'm trying to find the human resource. Oh, careers. There, look, it was right in
Is
front of
it careers? Okay.
typical man.
Yeah, but that's okay. But I used an old word. So careers, it's in the careers page, and there's a bunch of ways, and you can go online and apply for jobs there. And we're hiring, and we pay. Our warehouse folks start at 21 an hour, and then a $3 bonus every 90 days. So roughly, if you stay every 90 days, you're doing 24 an hour. We have healthcare. We have a number of benefits that I think are awesome, and so we're highly competitive. And it's a great place. But again, I want to make sure that if there are folks that are interested or curious, look there too.
Okay, Catherine, this was I the subject in which we had to make sure that this issue we keep it in the forefront of our
Yes.
community is interesting, but it was refreshing speaking with you because knowing the character to some extent and persona of people at helms of big helping agencies.
Yeah.
It's just good for folks like us that are in the field and we get frustrated by systems and structures. At least after this show, I can sit back and be like, well, wow, Catherine's in place. And so at least when it comes,
Yeah.
I'm serious.
No, the good news is now you're going to email me and say, "Hey, Catherine, can you fix this?" And I'll take your email.
No, let's keep it 100. I have used relationships, but at the end of the day,
Well, that's what you're supposed to do is leverage. That's what you're supposed to do, Jimmy.
Catherine,
You're doing it.
I like you. I'm gonna have to talk to Brittany and get you scheduled again.
Okay, but you have to use what we have all varying little amounts of power, right? Or influence, right? And you have influence. You have a mic, and you have the opportunity to talk to people, and you have the opportunity to ask questions and some very hard questions of people and hold them accountable and represent a community, so keep doing what you're doing. I'm happy to come back anytime. We're in a fight here.
Yeah.
And it's not a new fight, as you've noted. It's kind of the same old stuff. But the thing is that I think we are more resourced today than 40 years ago. I think we know more about the impact on health and food's impact on health and children, that children can't learn if they're hungry and they need that food. We know that people need, those foundational items like food and housing and access to healthcare. And then we know wages are going to be, the only way we're going to pull people up and through is education and wages, to be able to give them autonomy. As my father would always say, we don't want them walking through the back door. We want them walking through the front door. And we want them walking through the front door to eat. And I want them walking through the front door of their local stores and buy the food they want. But that takes financial, autonomy and independence. And that's that barbell piece. We have too many people on the side of no resources or very limited resources.
Yep. Catherine, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. And we'll be in touch about having you back very, very soon.
Yeah, and you keep up the good work too. I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much. There's already calls in here for you to come back. Please schedule Catherine again soon. I like her too. Catherine, thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Hey, everyone. That was Catherine D'Amato from the Greater Boston Food Bank. Despite a little technical issue and I'm looking different up here today on a whole different camera, the information is always paramount and important. And so we were glad to have Catherine with us. Please, if you know anyone that is looking for employment, where did I put that? They are actually hiring. Where did I put that? They are actually hiring. So you can go check that out there. Also, if you would like to volunteer, you can do so by going here to volunteer. Basically, if you want any information about the Greater Boston Food Bank, you can go to www.gbfb.org to get more information. Listen, we just wanted to remind you again. I just got a text from the team talking about you look different this morning. I'll explain that later, y'all. What was I going to say? Just wanted to also name that we wanted to thank Dina Tarver for being the very first person that ordered her hoodie from the new Java with Jimmy website. We're going to go look at that in just a second before we wrap up. We also wanted to announce the winner of the ABMI and Java with Jimmy partnership to just appreciate our support base and the Java fam. The winner of the giveaway is Damaris Taylor. It was a random pick. We had over 50 people sign up, and Anissa, I don't know how she did it, electronically or old school with putting the names in a hat, but was picked by random. So Damaris Taylor, please inbox us and we'll reach out to you how to get you your cash prize of $50. We start this all over again later on this month for November. And so I guess, Anissa, on the first Monday of every month is when we'll announce it. I guess, I don't know. Let me know. And next month, we'll be back with the second winner. As long as you stay on the mailing list, you have a chance to win. So sign up for the mailing list, share the information, tag people on Instagram, follow the instructions Anissa puts out there, and you are eligible for that $50 cash prize. And it may not be cash, maybe gift card or something like that. But let's go in and just take a quick look at the website. Shout out to the Davis System and Anissa and ABMI for the great work that they have done. And this is actually my first time seeing it on a computer. So I've been looking at it on my phone. This is my first. Oh, and it's so interesting because, oh, this is so funny. All right, hold on. I don't want to share that screen for sure. All right, here we go. So look at this. So this is where you go to home, which is crazy, y'all. All right, so I'm at home. And this is crazy. And so we have quotes. Pastor Marion, your quote is up there. Wilfredo from Facebook. I think I saw one from Belinda as well. Some of the things that we've done over the past 3.5 years. We are expanding. I'm available for speaking engagements, host public and private events. You can also now advertise on Java with Jimmy. We are looking to be in partnership and collaborations. We have display advertising, social media advertising, email marketing, video production, and experiential marketing as well, as well. And also the Java with Jimmy shop This is where you can go. And I've heard the ask for the red hoodies. That there's something percolating in the background around the red hoodies. But don't forget to go get your hoodie. We have what's called drop shipping. And so you pay, you order, and they get it out. We're not doing the batch like we did a couple of years ago. Also, you are able to advertise with us. We're going to work on that little piece there. But this is an overview of our audience. Over 13,000. I think it's closer to 14,000 now. Shout out to the wonderful queens and women. 61% of our followers are women, and close to 40% of ages 25 to 44. Our top cities are Boston, Miami, Atlanta, and DC. We're actually going to start working with some folks out from the West Coast soon. That's going to inform our broadcast time. But also, we've been featured on Mass Live, WGBH Boston Magazine, NBC Channel 10 Boston, and also WCVB City Line with Karen Holmes Ward. So that's the website. Please go and check it out. There's also the portfolio there. You might recognize Miguel from the Real Boston Media that was a part of our photo shoot. You all know our frequent flyers, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, Mayor Michelle Wu, who Mayor Wu will be with us on this Wednesday at 9 a.m. So please plan to tune in. And also Dr. Joseph Betancourt, our first and biggest supporter around Your Healthy Java, which is coming back, I believe, the first of the year. We are working with Mass General to work out the details of that. There's some pictures and stuff as well. So there we go, folks. That is a review of the website. We are forever making improvements to make your experience a lot better. So there we go. And there is Uncle Thaddeus. I just saw pop in. Uncle, good to see you in the room. Had a great time with him at the Black Joy Circle at RCC. Got a chance, thanks to him, to be a small part of Boston's and Roxbury's own HBCU at Roxbury Community College. Pamela, good to see you in the room. You ordered it. Thank you. She ordered her hoodie. I'm being strategic about sharing that post that you shared with me. So I saw that as well. Thank you so much, sister. And I think I got everybody. Auntie Java. Leslie, good morning to you. Where's my friend Sharon Cornelius before I get in trouble? I seen her in here. Sharon Cornelius. Good morning. Good to see you in the room. Sharon, I connected with Eric, Leslie at UCB. We're getting ready to work on some stuff for UCB. Okay, I'm done, everyone. This is it for me today. We will see you tomorrow for Testimony Tuesday at 9 a.m. On Wednesday, we will be with Mayor Michelle Wu. And Thursday, we will let you know. All right. Auntie Java, the whole format is nice. I'm learning to navigate through it. Thanks, Auntie. Trying to get there. No, Ma, Miss Teresa's me and Miss Teresa have talked. I don't want her doing mass shipping. And with this company, y'all point and click and pay. And we don't have to do anything. We don't ship. We don't. So shout out to Anissa for that resource. I think that is it for me. And we will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And don't forget, if you're dealing with food insecurity, make sure you go check out not directly the Boston Food Bank, but you can go to that website, put your zip code, and find out where a local food pantry is near you. Also, don't forget, if you only have a few items in your house and you're trying to make food stretch, go to clickandcook.org, put up to 3 of the ingredients you have, and they will map you out a recipe. You can put low sodium. You can put different parameters in there, and it can design a meal for you to help you save money and stretch out your food. All right. Again, that's it for me. You hear the crows. They were beef. The cows. They would be. Miss Leslie, I ain't messing with you. All right, I'm really getting off of here this time for real, y'all, so I can go mess around with this camera and see why I'm on this one. And not, you know what? Let me just, you know what? What would be so funny if this thing just decided to all of a sudden work now because the show is over. Let's go see. Okay, it still didn't work. So we're back. It has to switch back. All right, there we go. It's not working, y'all. I don't know what the problem is, but obviously it's time for me to get off of here because the camera's not coming back on. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Have a great day, everybody.